This is TWiT.
So in the next couple of days, your iPhone and your Android device, if they're up to date, relatively up to date, will get pushed the new Apple-Google API for contact tracing. And at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if the CDC or somebody doesn't say, okay, time to download the app because your phone is going to narc on you. If you get COVID-19, your phone will tell everybody you've been in contact with over the last few days. They won't say your name. They'll just say, somebody you've been in contact with has COVID-19. Go home and stay home for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Will you, let's ask Devendra, because I'm sure he's thought a little bit about this. Mm-hmm. Will you do that? Will you install it?
Completely. It is like the one thing, we've had crises as a country for a while, and it's asked so much of us. All we need to do is stay home.
It's a lot easier than going to Iwo Jima.
Yeah. Just stay home. We don't have to go work in the rubber factories to produce stuff for the war effort. Just stay home. Like, I'm going to enable this. And, we're going to talk about this effort too between Apple and Google. This is astounding. Like, this to me is the best of the technology industry. We criticize these companies all the time for privacy issues, but I love how this is a privacy-focused effort from the start. This isn't a government database. This isn't a centralized database. All this information's anonymous. It's not being shared with Apple or Google. I believe you guys linked to Chrissy Farr's piece at CNBC about how this all came together. It's astounding. Like, this is great. This is how we use tech to save the world, basically.
Yeah, this was a great piece. It was codename Bubble at Apple. Not sure what that means. At least it's not bubbles, because that would have been weird. In mid-March, a small team at Apple started brainstorming how they could help. They knew that smartphones would be key to the global coronavirus response, particularly as countries started relaxing their shelter-in-place orders to prepare for that. Contact tracing within a few weeks. That's how fast they did this. The Apple project, codenamed Bubble, had dozens of employees working on it. Craig Federighi, a senior vice president of software engineering, and Jeff Williams is a COO at Apple, both supporting this effort. By the end of the month, Google had joined in, putting aside remember, Apple was suing Google for like 20 years, it seems like. Nope, putting aside any animosity. Tim Cook and Sundar Pichai met on Zoom to give their final approval. Well, they probably didn't use Zoom. Maybe they did use Zoom because it's neutral, right?
It was just a long email chain. No, we got to do FaceTime. No, we got to do Hangouts. FaceTime.
Going back and forth.
I think pretty impressive. Now, a lot of people are very concerned about privacy. Steve Gibson, our security guy, went through all the white papers. He seems very comfortable with it. And if you look at what other governments have proposed absent the use of this API, it's pretty horrific. Australia, France, absolute grab for data.
Every database is bad.
Yeah. Alex, will you do it?
I will, out of a sense of civic duty, and my privacy concerns have been allayed by watching the federal government try to get its act together in the last couple of months. And so instead of being concerned that they're going to suck all this data down and use it nefariously, I don't think they're going to be able to do it too much with it, just given that they can't really
give it to Jared. He will do something with it. Actually, it would be legitimate to worry about a data breach, but they are not going to get any data that could be
the companies aren't touching the data. It's all happening on device, which is great.
Oh.
Yeah.
So now that you know that, Shira, would you do it?
I mean, I think I would do it out of civic duty and responsibility as well. I don't get a lot out of rebelling against it. I think there will be a lot of people that try to make a point by doing that because of privacy. I just think at this point, it's like there's more that you get to work on with yourself than to like just focus on that necessarily.
So the Singapore government, which is an authoritarian government, released a similar app, probably without privacy protection. Yeah. Only 25% of the populace used it.
Also, the worst kind of design for that. Wasn't that the one where they had to have the phones open?
Yeah.
And the app running, like there was no background.
Killed your
work.
battery.
Like
that
not
makes
the way
sense.
to do it.
Don't you think at this point you could be found anywhere at any time anyway? Like if you don't have a phone.
Well, somebody made a point that Apple and Google have created an API for something ad trackers have been using for years.
Exactly.
Anyway, but at least theirs is private. The Singapore thing is called Trace Together. uses the Bluetooth. Trace together.
Let's make it all very
Let's make it together.
And like Zen.
And it uses Bluetooth. If there's a strong signal, people are close. And then if the person is identified with coronavirus, Singapore's Ministry of Health has the app data. They can look it up and they can notify people, but it had to be running in the foreground. And of course, Apple doesn't let you run stuff in the foreground all the time. It also meant the phone had to stay unlocked, and it killed the battery. So a lot of complaints on that. This will be a lot better. Apple and Google both said we will deliver our own app down the road, way down the road. We're really creating this API for public health officials to create an app. Have you heard of anybody? Is there a California app? Is there a U.S. app?
Oh.
I haven't heard about anything.
I think
That's the
the only
question.
way this could work, I think that if these companies want access to where we are at all times, and we all want that to keep ourselves safer, I think we need to live in true transparency. So if we finally get comfortable as citizens with full transparency, then all these companies should be transparent in terms of how they're building these things and give access to everyone, so people can break it down. And
That's what Apple has done. It's not
hack
open
into it,
source,
but not hack into it to like take advantage, but to be able to see what they're doing in real time with it.
I think Apple has the white papers Apple and Google have delivered in a very detailed way described what they're doing and why they feel like it's privacy protective. But you're right, it's not open source. But I think we have to at some point trust, certainly at least Apple, to do the right thing with this. It would be such a
they're the
breach.
one company that's been like preaching and actually doing the whole privacy focused thing compared to other companies. So I'm down with it. And you look at the process of this thing, like there's a key that changes on your device. Like it's even if somebody hacked your phone, it seems like it would be really difficult to track like other people who you've been in contact with. You won't know who it is. You'll just know, you touched a person. You were within range, and that's it.
And that's all you need to know. You don't need to know their name. You just need to know that you now have to quarantine for 14 days. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah. And you cannot send out that alert unless there's a security that says, they can't be spoofed. You have to get a test. It has to be positive. And then the medical authorities will give you a QR code or there's some mechanism so that you can't say, I got it if you didn't.